Krista here with you again today. And today I wanted to talk about something, and that is transition. I know I talked about it a little bit in one of my last videos, and the process as I go through it myself, so I understand what I'm saying as I'm saying it, and to an audience. In one of my recent videos, I talked about rejection and of old toxic friends and family, as we're at the 4th or 5th stage of recovery, whether it being from an addiction to gambling, drugs, alcohol, working, whatever it may be, spending, whatever it may be, to narcissistic abuse, which is the codependency, an addiction to another person that is unstable and unbalanced, a person with, when you're dealing with a relationship where you have a partner that is narcissistic personality disordered, or maybe just a very manipulative person that you're dealing with, when we start putting up boundaries. And by boundaries, I mean a lot of times we grew up in homes that where we are very conditioned, probably more dysfunctional, controlling homes and environments, but even covert, where it's more hidden, but where we are in a place where we are conditioned to people please more, and run around and be like or do like everybody likes us to do or be. Maybe if it's meeting a parent's expectations on becoming that lawyer or engineer when maybe you always dreamed of being a musician. Down to the point of even mothers that struggle today with trying to make everybody else happy and their families and their children's happy, while never learning how to love themselves first, and just running themselves to death until completely exhausted, trying to please everybody else and make everybody else happy, but we sit in discontent and not very satisfying lives because of it. Even often creating illness within ourselves when we are not looking about taking care of ourselves first. It's kind of like when you're in the air and the plane is going to crash, or the emergency light comes on. Who are you going to put that oxygen mask on first? Your children or you? Well, a people pleaser would often say your children first, but actually you have to put the mask on yourself in order to contain enough oxygen to then hold your breath and put it on your children. In order to save them, you have to save yourself first. And this is so important for us codependents, because we often try to save other people. It's a part of our conditioning, where we often have to take care of all the others around and demands of others around us. And we were never allowed to develop that ability and quality for ourselves, which are our needs, and meet our own needs and get our own needs met, or pay attention to oftentimes we can even lose our sense of identity as we are young and throughout our lives as we become, while we are staying with these people um, that are just like the people that were there when we were growing up, especially our caretakers. Um, but that it's okay and not to shame, blame, or punish ourselves or have other people do this to us as we do begin to put these boundaries on. And we practice these boundaries, learning to say no. Um, Even when people push us over and over again past these boundaries and go way beyond the boundaries that we place, whether we have to make more no contact with these types of people, limited contact, or whatever, especially with the narcissists, how no contact is very important, especially during the time of recovery. Where we can finally start breaking the cycle, and they can finally stop beating us down psychologically that we are no good and we have nowhere to go because we are pathetic and no one else will want us, da 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 da. These are the states that the abuser can keep you in, to keep you down and with them. Or even if they've already left and are looking towards new source, which they always will, when they get very bored with a person. Just like an addict, a bored addict, where a person will might get bored when they run out of cigarettes to get another pack. It's a lot like a narcissist will do, even with their love interests, or they begin to deplete you so much of your time and energy that you just, is like vampirically, will just zap all the energy out of you and you can become almost dead-like. And what's really incredible is that even though we can't see it happening at the time, because they will say that it's not like that with gaslighting, and that you're just going crazy, or there's something wrong with you. What's important about no contact, or just like getting away from your drug for 90 days, where we're actually feeding on dopamine levels from the love bombing here and there that is given by a narcissistic, more manipulative individual, where we can become addicted to that high that they can give us, and that serotonin level where we feel like normal again or good. When that is taken away from us for a while, it takes about 90 days to start those dopamine levels getting normal again, and with addiction as well, where it's not getting pounded, by overusing and overusing and overusing more and more and more, to where it can start dropping back to that normal level. And during that time, we can feel like we want to die. We can feel like nothing has meaning without this person or that drug. That's why it's important to do the no contact, where you can actually, after a while, start seeing that you are okay, you are going to be okay, and those horrible thoughts that you had about yourself, like you were no good, were actually coming from another source or another place or person, and that you're actually better than that when you psychologically stop getting fed that devaluing of that abusive individual. Or whether you're on the crack pipe, you know, and you feel like you're nothing without that drug, for maybe low self-esteem, like you had become that individual that was outgoing and social for the first time with that drug, but that you are actually okay just to be yourself when we start going through this recovery transition. And even though, um, you know, in the middle of the recovery phases, when we do start practicing these boundaries, practicing saying no more, getting back with them later if they still insist, to just keep practicing the no, and you have other things to attend to, or maybe you can help them for a little while, but not all day. It is so amazing how this practice, give it time, it becomes an actual habit that you don't even think about anymore. But you can be so proud of it though. Even though you might still be having this person or that person mad that you are not doing that with them anymore, or you are not constantly taking care and wiping their butts, or whatever you want to call it, which is incessant with a narcissistic individual. Um, but where you start putting your own needs first, and a lot of times the other people can get angry and fall away because they don't have that control over you anymore as much as they did. So they are going to start looking for other people or hanging with other people that they can manipulate like that, because they are not willing to change yet, if ever they will. And going back to the narcissistic individual, chances are like really, 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 really slim that they will ever change. Sorry to break it to you. And I know with codependency, that can be an addiction of ours, is to fix, fix, fix. So the break away from these types of people can be amazing, although yet very lonely, because we find ourselves all of a sudden nobody's calling us anymore. Maybe they're defriending us on Facebook, um, or whatever, and you find yourself quite a bit alone, more than you were. But having keep an optimistic look at it. You know, you might not like it at first. It can be really hard. One of the hardest recovery processes that will ever is the hardest part. But during that time, when we do become bored, and when we no longer want to sit there and accept that it is not our fault, what happened was not our fault, and that we can change, maybe keep learning in your recovery process by reading books, listening to videos, going to attending groups, you know, where you start learning different ways of being that maybe you've never learned before, to give you hope and support during a very painful process, where you are lessoned to give up and stay as you were, or to go back, because power is in numbers. You know, keeping and choosing loved ones that are supportive around, and friends that are supportive around. You know, and like for me, the transition process can be really amazing to watch, um, about how it's incredible to watch that the more boundaries that I gain, And you really start seeing these people back off and start to create a new lifestyle where people are actually understand and are on your side. Maybe people that have went through it themselves or are going through it. Where kind of that space can be a lot of pressure, where maybe even their um, beatings on you can be more intense because they're losing that power over you or that kind of lifestyle. Where your old lifestyle, you're still kind of in it, maybe with that job or whatever, and you just sort of feel like you're choosing to want to be forced out of it, because as you put these boundaries on, you can actually see how horrible that they are treating you, or how horrible, that that place, that bar was that you were hanging around. That the treatment was not very good, and they were really actually creeps. And the more that we see it, the more I know myself that I can't stand it, and it just keeps getting more and more powerful. Um, I know oftentimes, sometimes people can transition while having a nervous breakdown, until their lives start really changing and the transition really comes through, like toward spiritual awakenings, as AA calls it, to where things might become increasingly difficult because you are leaving an old lifestyle behind, that you don't like, and you realize more and more every day that you really, really, really don't like it, and you want to change. You want to get out. Your desire becomes stronger for better change, and learning. You learn how to better coping methods for everything, such as maybe taking the time to go for a walk in nature, which is so powerful. The feelings of depression that it can alleviate, anxiety, meditating, mindful baths, scented baths, breathing, just taking care of yourself, and making more space for relaxation times, and can lower the anxiety that can really get to you during this time. Maybe going to church, praying, drawing, creativity, making an wooden airplane, can really take you out of that stress mode, which we have been in our whole lives, where we might have always had to walk on eggshells or meet these high expectations, and we stay in these more PTSD types and CPSD types of states where we're just always like this, and we're addicted to this, and we can keep creating things that keep us like this. But again, it's something that can go away with time as well, once we're learning, and especially practicing relaxing and mindful things in our lives. The better habits we can get into, the more it is life-changing, and the more you're going to see that old lifestyle as it really was, and that there is better than that. So thanks for listening today, everybody, and I hope you have a great one. Peace.